All right, ladies, welcome. Of course, I got the nice ring light camera and my eyeglasses, but nevertheless, welcome. It is me, Coach V, the New Love Strategist with the New Love Collective, coming before you for this week's MIT training video. MIT, of course, is motivation, inspiration, and transformation, because that is what I'm all about when it comes to my wonderful single ladies, okay? We're going to talk just a few moments today. We're going to talk about the real issue, okay? I keep hearing a lot of women say, I'm just confused, right? And a lot of times what I'm realizing when they're talking obviously about an experience with a man, some type of relationship, not knowing if the man truly does care, if he's interested, is something else going on, not knowing where they stand, I realize that there's a pattern of this happening. I can say this as someone myself who has been confused before several times in situationships. And I had to take accountability to ask myself and find out what is going on with the fact that you have allowed yourself to repeatedly be confused by men and in relationships. So this is an experience that is a little bit normal, but at the same time, we're going to break this pattern, okay? We got to do something about it, because when you find yourself confused, that means that you obviously invested a little bit too early. There's no reason why you would be confused if you actually used wisdom and discernment, and if you took the time to observe a man's patterns, if you took the time to actually detect a man's motives, then there's nothing that would have you confused in your dealings with him. And what I also want to iterate is the fact that confusion is not at all about men. Anytime you find yourself confused, it is about your level of emotional investment versus the actual information. All right? It's not about you being confused. You just don't have enough data yet. There's not enough data that has been collected for you to make an informed decision. Therefore, your emotions should not be invested to the point that someone can have you feeling confused. But it's like you've already invested like you typically do, which is why you can find yourself being in that situation. Let's talk about what confusion in dating really means at the end of the day. In practical terms, confusion is going to be any type of misalignment between expectations and reality. If you're confused, it means that you thought things were going to go one way, but you're looking at what's in front of you and you're realizing this is not quite going how I thought it was going to go. Whether that means you were expecting consistency, but hey, this man is still getting to know you. You were thinking you all should be at the committed stage, but this man is still screening and vetting you the same way that you should be screening and vetting him. Maybe you're expecting clarity, but he hasn't even decided yet. Or it could be one of those situations where you're expecting emotional depth, but he is pacing normally and in a healthy way. See, the thing about confusion is that it often shows up when when your emotional timeline is ahead of the actual relationship timeline. This is one of the signs that women invest way too much emotionally early on, is that they already have this picture, this idea in their mind of what the relationship looks like, but it does not align with reality. It's like you haven't even given the relationship time to develop into something and to become something, but yet you've already layered all of these expectations on it, and we've got to do something about that, okay? At the real root, when it comes to emotional investment way too fast, it is because there's something going on inside of you that has not yet been tended to. There's a reason why you are eager to rush things. There's a reason why you are desperately seeking clarity, right? There's a reason why you have all of these feelings that are coming up when it should not even yet be the case, because you have not really taken the time to get to know this man as a person before immediately jumping and deciding if this man is even going to be a good partner. Earlier this week, in one of my relationship reset intensive sessions, I met with a woman and we were talking about, what's been going on, how's her dating life been, how have relationships been, and things like that. And one of the things that came up repeatedly in that session, she mentioned wanting to feel chosen. And this was something that came up when we were talking about parents. We talked about it as far as one of her last relationships, when I was going into, what emotional safety looks like for her. That was also something else that she mentioned, was wanting to feel chosen. I see that a lot with women that have control and security as one of their emotional drivers, or as their primary emotional driver. We have 8. Women who are led by control and security, it makes sense that you want to be chosen, because that is what leads to you feeling secure. This is something that is very prevalent in those who have an anxious attachment style or a fearful avoidant attachment style. There's this deep desire, this craving, this yearning to be chosen, to be validated, to be assured that you matter. And so therefore, knowing that you are chosen, it soothes the little girl inside of you that has the abandonment wounds that are still showing up in your grown woman body. So the root of it all, when you find yourself being confused, it means that you are someone who emotionally invested too fast in a situation. Emotional investment can include thinking about a man constantly. It can be wanting commitment early on. It could be wanting clarity in the very early stages of a relationship. It could be creating narratives, right? Like you already have this fantasy or this idea in your head of what the relationship should look like, or what you think it is going to look like. It could be assigning meaning way too early. Again, when you have not even really gotten to know this man's character as a person, therefore you don't even know what kind of partner he would actually make. Maybe it's one of those things where you find yourself imagining a future with this guy and already thinking about what your life could look like together. For some people, that seems absurd. It's like, there's no way, like, how can someone even, like, whatever, like that early on? But to people that have attachment wounds, abandonment issues, for those who have an insecure attachment style, for those who are, again, especially anxious, preoccupied, yeah, it is actually very normal to be in a relationship for like a week and you're already thinking about where it's going. You already have, your imagination has already taken you where this thing is going to end up and how it's going to look. Listen, a lot of women think they are doing a good job at hiding it. What I do know is that you can be very chill externally, but you can be deeply invested internally. At the end of the day, anytime you find yourself confused, unsure, or preoccupied when it comes to a man, you didn't fall for him. That's not what it boils down to. It's not about falling for him. It's that you built a version of him in your mind and you attached to that. And there are reasons why women do this, especially psychologically speaking, psychology and wounds and trauma. But again, if you have anxious attachment tendencies, then this makes sense. If you have a desire for certainty and emotional security, this makes sense. If you have past inconsistencies, then it actually creates hyper awareness in relationships. If you have this fear of wasting your time or another relationship not working out, then that means you're going to find yourself rushing to get clarity. It is so normal for me in my career. It is so normal for me to hear women talking about, wanting to know early on where they stand because they don't have time to waste. They have a certain set of questions they want to ask on date one. They don't have time to waste. I hear some women talk about the questions they're going to ask on the very first phone conversation because they don't have time to waste. All of these things, and it's like everything is about rushing, rushing, rushing. Fear of wasting time, so we're going to rush to get clarity. And that is not the way to date. You are putting more pressure on yourself than needs to be. There should be no pressure when it comes to dating. Dating is supposed to be fun. It is supposed to be enjoyable. Take it serious, yes. Use wisdom and discernment, yes. Do this thing alongside God and allow the Holy Spirit to lead and guide you, yes. But have fun. and just chill just a little bit. All right? Familiar patterns will feel urgent, and they also feel important. And if you are not careful, you will allow those patterns to lead you because of the level of importance that you have actually placed on them. So you need to find out internally what is going on that has you craving connection and that has you wanting to rush when it comes to relationships. A lot of times what feels like intuition is really just anxiety that is reacting to uncertainty. So that is something that you want to ensure that you are aware of. Emotionally investing too quickly, what I can tell you is that it has consequences. You will find yourself overanalyzing behavior. You will find yourself dissecting his conversations and his actions. You will find yourself seeking reassurance way too early. You will find yourself feeling anxious when there's really nothing that's even going wrong. Like nothing bad is happening and you're still finding yourself experiencing anxiety. Another consequence would be mislabeling men as being inconsistent or unavailable when it's really just your nervous system out of whack. You're trying to get relationship level clarity from a situation that hasn't even reached that level yet. And that is dangerous. And what I can also tell you is that is also one of the things that leads to self-sabotage. Your goal is to get to the point where you know how to pace yourself emotionally speaking. There's a look to healthy emotional pacing, and it's where you observe more than you interpret. Let me tell you, if you're using wisdom and if you're using discernment, then that means that you are smart to observe a man, his character, his patterns, all of that. And therefore, there's nothing really left for you to interpret because wisdom is going to tell you what it is that you need to do when it comes to that relationship. It'll also let consistency reveal itself over time. No need keeping track. No need paying extra attention. Whatever it is, it's going to be obvious. It is going to be right there in your face, right? Consistency is going to reveal itself over time. And when it comes to time, I will say one of the keys is not going based off of this, not confabulated, but this constructed version of a timeline in your head. That a lot of times I've noticed that the timelines that a lot of women have, it's really based off of their anxiety. It's based off the insecurities and that need to control. And that is why they have these timelines on how the relationship should progress. They have these time limits as to how long it should take a man to return a phone call, to respond to a text, what isn't acceptable as far as how long a man should go between communication and things like that. Let consistency reveal itself over time. Your job is to go on living your life. Make sure that you have a life outside of dating, outside of looking to be in a relationship, outside of wanting to be a wife one day. It took pretty much the full 6 months of one of my previous clients being in the breakout program for us to create a rhythm for her, like daily activities, weekly things to try, because for her, all she knew was that she wanted to be in a relationship. All of her focus was there and she was experiencing severe loneliness. So we really had to rewire her system, do a little bit of system shock therapy in order to get her to that point where it's like, hey, now you can have a life outside of getting into a relationship one day. Because women who make everything about getting into a relationship, that means when that relationship does come along, that man doesn't even know that he has a job to keep you happy and to give you a lot of attention and to make you feel secure, and that you're going to want y'all's lives to be like deeply intertwined to the point where it can be almost a little bit of codependency. I would say one of the things that would help is making sure that as you are observing this man's patterns and his character and his behavior and things like that, match his level of investment, but do not exceed it. And a lot of women go wrong with this because they are so desperate to prove that they are worthy. They want to be chosen. They want to show that they are They can be an amazing woman, that they're worthy of, love and time and attention and all of those things. A woman who truly feels and believes that, she doesn't need to prove it. You don't need to go above and beyond proving yourself to anyone. Now, yes, the relationships, even the dating ships, they should be mutually beneficial, okay? But like I said, match his level of investment without feeling like you need to exceed it. Stay present in the moment with getting to know that man instead of being future focused. The goal is for you to find a healthy connection. It's not about finding something or someone to attach to, because attachment asks, where is this going? But a healthy connection, being emotionally available, being emotionally intelligent, availability says, let me see who this man really is at the end of the day. I don't want you to stop caring. I don't want you to be nonchalant. I don't want you to say, oh, in this season, it's just all about me having fun. No, we're not doing any of that, but you do need to slow down. Okay, this is the shift from attachment to awareness. It's you telling yourself, hey, let me learn how to pace myself and slow it down a little bit. I always say pace, pause, and control your expectations, pause and control your emotions. Whatever E needs to apply, that is fine, all right? But please know this, emotional discipline, that is a part of loving yourself. That is a part of true self-love. And I know that you don't want your time wasted, okay? But clarity matters more than anything. And clarity comes from time and patterns, not urgency. Peace in dating will come from pacing yourself and not putting any unnecessary pressure on a situation, all right? If you're realizing that you are a woman that tends to get a little bit emotionally invested very quickly, I want to tell you that you are not alone. As I said, this is something that I can relate to. For the longest time, I did not know that I had, at that point years ago, that I had an anxious attachment style. So investing a lot early on, that was the norm for me, okay? But now I have the pleasure of being able to help women with that very thing, helping them slow down and to do what Proverbs says and to guard their hearts, all right? So it's like you're not alone, but it also is something that you need to address if you know that you want different results. In the Relationship Reset Intensive, I've been having a pleasure of having these sessions with so many women over the past couple of weeks, women who are ready to break the patterns and actually do something different. So maybe this is something you want to consider booking, because what we do in that 90-minute session, we break down your patterns. We look at how you attach, how you interpret behavior, how you show up, and why you respond the way that you do in dating. It is something that is very transformational, especially for those who maybe right now can't afford to invest time and or money into coaching right now. Then that is the next best step for you. So you can stop feeling confused and you can start dating with clarity, confidence, and emotional control. All right. If you are ready to shift how you show up in dating, then my intensive is definitely the next step for you. If you're saying, hey, I'm at least ready to take one step right now, I've got to do something different, then this is where Coach V comes into play, and I have your back. All right. So if you want to get on my calendar, you can just simply visit the link, go to the newlovecollective.com/book. Get your session for whenever you're ready, and then you and I are going to chat, and we are going to give you the reset that you need, but also the reset that you deserve. You deserve it, and your future partner deserves it. He deserves the healthy, healed, whole version of yourself. Because once you become that person, that means that you are only going to date men that also match that